Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, Sebastian Envy, the strong style nerd, strong style cinephile, Shiv, part 1. Let us geek about that for a scant few minutes. Now, we knew this was going to be a Cindy-focused story. Cindy, as well as Dr. Ito, who's the Dragon King, resident science-y guy for the Injustice Society of America, and this episode did not disappoint. It would be easy for them to have Cindy be in this role as this paper-thin kind of character of this mean girl. There's so many layers to her, and we see them on display in this episode. We see first she has a falling out with her best friend slash lackey. She's having issues with Henry King. This Henry King is just wanting to be by his dad's side as he recovers in the hospital, where she just wants to go do popular girl things. And we tell that she just doesn't want to be with Henry. She's just stuck with him, and we find out why in this episode. The fact that her father has stuck her with him because they need his telepathic powers to power the machine that they're going to use, presumably to brainwash people. That's what I think it's going to be, because they're failing at waking up Brainwave, which we know the Principal Owen, also virtuoso, has been trying to do. We also found out in the last episode that her husband, who was the actual fiddler, failed to do so. What happened to the fiddler? Did he get killed by the ISA? Did he get we don't know what happened to him. It'd be interesting to see. But we get a little bit of Cindy's home life. We see that she has a stepmother who was apparently programmed by Dr. Ito just to kind of serve as just a placeholder or just something to have some semblance of normalcy for Cindy. Not that she would ever be normal, because we also find out she's been experimented on from birth, or at least from a very young age by him. He says to give her powers to protect herself. And it sounded like when she was young and getting a handle on her powers, which include knives come out of her wrists, that she killed her mother. She maybe had a hand in her mother's death, her mother's accidental death. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We see earlier in the episode kind of Courtney, and looking like Courtney and Cindy are going to kind of bond a little bit. They get stuck together for a science experiment, and through their kind of banter, we find out that Cindy's been experimenting with chemicals since she was a kid. They kind of bond over fatherly type of stuff, and even make plans to hang out. On Courtney's side of things, what's supposed to be a training session for the JSA turns into Courtney showing off and trying to prove that she is capable of leading the team, capable of taking on the JSA or the ISA. She's just making everything. So much of this JSA stuff is about Courtney and what Courtney wants, what Courtney needs. And she's having, just realizing that there's other people involved. Pat tells her there's other people involved. They all get mad at her for kind of taking the training session over and kind of ruining it. And she's making it about her when it has to be about everybody. They have to work in sync. As Pat says, even though the original JSA was in sync, it was all about teamwork and everything, they still, in the end, got killed. So you have to work together, function as a team. It doesn't come overnight. You have to work at it. But Courtney's not really wanting to work at it, thinking that she could just take on the world with her staff and her plucky attitude, and it doesn't work out that way. And we have the beatdown last episode as a team, and we have further beatdown this episode from Cindy as Shiv to kind of prove to Courtney that, this is serious business. You don't know everything. You can't do everything by yourself, which is going to be clearly a painful lesson to learn. Cindy, on the other hand, knows. Also, in this episode, we learned some things. We learned that, number one, there are tunnels that connect a lot of the places. Like there's a tunnel from Cindy's house that leads directly to the ISA headquarters. There's a tunnel from Principal Bowen's office that leads to around the school. So it's interesting to see how they're all connected. Cindy, we learned, knows everything about the ISA, while the other ISA members' kids don't know stuff. And we see Cindy walk in or eavesdrop on a meeting of the ISA where they're talking about what happened in the last episode with the fight with the junior JSA, and they expressed an interest in wanting to bring their kids into it. So Principal Bowen's kid, bring in Artemis to try to root out who this new JSA is, because they figure out they're just kids. They got to go to the high schools. They want to use their kids. And that idea is quickly shot down. So it makes you wonder clearly Artemis doesn't know, Principal Bowen's kid doesn't know, but what does Icicle's kid know? Does he know that he has powers? I mean, we know that Icicle's grandparents are in on things. They saw him kill the wizard. They helped cover it up. So they know stuff. So it's like, how much does Cameron know about his father and his abilities, and then how much does he know about his own abilities. And one thing, of course, that stands out from Cindy's eavesdropping on the ISA conversation is the name Stargirl comes into play a bit later on at the homecoming game, when Cindy, in a fit of rage and annoyance at Courtney breaking plans that they made, she goes back down to the catacombs to where her father is to try to talk to him. She's like, he's never around when I need him. She's upset, and then she decides to take the Shiv suit for a test run. She saw it earlier in the episode. She decides to take it and go after Stargirl, who she spies on monitor cameras nosing through the catacombs and tunnels and stuff that are connecting the school and other locations, because at this homecoming football game, Courtney is wanting to key in on the principal and find out what she knows about the ISA. Again, making it all about her and what she wants and what she needs to do. So she follows the principal, ends up getting jumped by Shiv, ends up just getting her butt handed to her by Shiv. It's actually a really good fight. There's some like wire fu stuff that kind of, it's like they don't do it to excess, I don't think, but it's like there, and it's kind of like, do you really need to? I guess you kind of do, but some of it just looks cheesy. Again, it's a comic book show, you're going to expect some cheese, you're going to just, just spoon up that cheese, and you're going to like it. It's just, what we're going to do, but still. They've kept it to a minimum, they haven't just overdid it totally. But it's there, and you can see it. But other than that, it was a good, well choreographed, well shot, just well executed fight that had them really getting in some good shots on each other. We find out that Cindy has a Wolverine-like healing factor because she takes a full star blast from the staff to the face, melts her face off for a second, because then it just comes back on. And she really puts a beat down on Courtney, who is saved by the Shining Knight in a moment of glorious, just pow, pow, just two quick strikes, and just, it was awesome. And then he recognizes Pat as Stripesy, so I'm kind of wondering where his mind is. How much does he know? Is he just in Blue Valley because of a spell or something? Because he just doesn't seem like he's all there. Like he knows kind of bits and pieces of who he was, but he's not all there. It's not all connected. So I'm wondering if there's like a spell that he put on himself, or some spell somebody else put on him, and he kind of worked his way back to, he's like working his way through it to get back to like who he was. Remains to be seen. But of course, episode ends with Courtney getting laid out, and then we see from pictures of the next episode, the second part of Shiv, that she's in a hospital. So I'm wondering kind of if things are going to come out, because earlier in the episode we see Pat making plans with Courtney, which they try to cover it up by saying he's teaching her how to drive, which Barbara's upset because he didn't run that by her. Mike is upset because they're spending more and more time with each other, and he goes off on her at the football game when Pat goes to get food, saying that him and Pat have been through a lot more than she even knows, and just doesn't want her. He feels some type of way about Courtney, that's the part about blended families. It's that you kind of run into, because you don't want the biological kid, in your efforts to bond with the step kid, you don't want your biological kid feeling left out, and that sort of thing. And I think that's what we're starting to have happen. These jealousies are coming up with Mike and with Barbara. Barbara, we find out in this episode, she gets called away to go do some business stuff for the American Dream cover-up foundation type thing with Icicle off at Somewhere City. Is it for some nefarious purposes? Is it for some honest purposes? Who knows? We don't know at this point. But she goes away, so I'm wondering whether or not this whole hospital stay with Courtney is going to be resolved by the time they get back from the business trip. Elsewhere in the episode, other little nuggets, we see the kids are happy to have their powers. We see Yolanda is thrilled to be Wildcat. Our man Rick seems to be as well, and of course Beth with the goggles, because that's her only friend. The Dr. Midnight AI, Chuck as she calls it, is her only friend, and she's just happy about that. And she actually did make her parents lunch this time, which they expected. So that was kind of a fun funny type of moment. And then the whole, like, they did this shot with like this, they have the kids like coming together in school and just kind of like seeing each other in the hallway and just falling into line for this like slow-mo walk. 'Cause I love like slow motion walks. I want to incorporate them into lots of stuff that I want to film coming up, because I just love them. They're cheesy and stupid, but I'm a sucker for a good slow motion walk. And the team gets together, they're doing a slow motion walk, everybody's all happy, blah blah, and then Cindy just comes in, wow. They even stop the music that they're playing, and she's like, it was a fun scene, funny stuff. It just, from top to bottom, this is just a really good show. Again, they're not showing us too much at once. They're just continually just adding on just layers and just making just these moments cool. I love the interactions of the ISA. They all don't get along. They all don't like each other. They're just together for this common goal. And I think some of that bickering that they do, some of the lines that they've drawn against each other are going to be their undoing. And again, it kind of will help justify why these kids are able to take them down and foil their plans, because they're going to be shooting themselves in the foot a lot of the time. So I like that. I like the kids and coming along. The fact that they got mad with Courtney for taking over what was supposed to be a training session for all of them. She took it over, made it all about her, and they were mad at her for that. So they've got some learning and some growing to do as a team, to function as a team, to be a formidable junior JSA. It's just, and their chemistry is just great. It's interesting now to kind of see some development with Barbara and Mike, as far as like Courtney and Pat and their growth together. So that was interesting and realistic, as far as, like I said, relationships with blended families. That kind of stuff can and will happen. So it was interesting to see them exploring that on this show. It's just a good, fun show. I continue to say, Stargirl is like peak Flash season 1, back before it sucked. And it's dark when it needs to, dark, serious when it needs to be, but for the most part, it's just fun, cheesy, over the top, just super good, fun, Silver Age superhero action. It's just a great, fun show. And if you're not watching it, you are doing yourself a disservice. You can either see it on DC Universe app early, or you can see it on the CW. Set your DVR. It's a great show. It's Stargirl. It's just, I can't wait for part 2. I can't wait to see if we get more Shiny Knight stuff. We get to see the fallout with Dr. Ito and Cindy. We see more development with Henry King. Mark my words, I think Henry is going to, his telepathy is going to end up revealing that Courtney is Stargirl, at least to him. I'm wondering, because after the beatdown that Cindy put on Courtney, Pat was coming in there yelling for Courtney, so I'm wondering if Cindy, we're going to see in the next episode that Cindy stuck around, or maybe she heard Pat calling for Courtney and picks up on the fact that Courtney is Stargirl. I'm wondering about that. Remains to be seen. Hopefully next episode, though, we get more Shining Knight, and we get more JSA or ISA action. I need more Tigers. I need more Sportsmaster, because he was so good last episode. I need more of him. And there's just so many cool things you can say about the show. I'm geeked about it. It's a good, fun show that legitimately keeps you wanting to see the next episode. It keeps you hooked, wanting to know more, wanting to see more. And that's just, we haven't had that in quite a while from the superhero shows that we've had. We've had, yeah, I want to see the next episode because I've watched it this far, so I might as well see. You know, it's nothing like that with this episode. Maybe that's just the newness. Maybe that's just the new car smell of Stargirl that's keeping us there. Will it hold up over subsequent seasons? Remains to be seen. But right now, in this here and the now, in this moment, Stargirl is one of the best superhero shows on TV. And if you're not watching it, then you should be. Plain and simple. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts on Stargirl. Shiv Part 1, scattered as they often are. What do you guys out there think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me. Social media. Talk to me there. Talk to me here. Until next week, and we see another Stargirl, Shiv Part 2. Man, more videos coming in between, but still, it's gonna be great stuff. Anyway, stay safe out there. Mask up. Just do your due diligence as far as keeping yourself clean, protecting others, keeping them clean from this whole Rona apocalypse thing that we're all living in. Let us geek.